Welcome, everybody, to a very special review of Star Trek Discovery, the third episode. Context is for kings. That's right. It's a very good title for this episode. I was really excited about it. We get to meet the Discovery crew. Jason Isaacs shows up. There's some weird monster killing Klingons. So much happened in this episode. So we're going to get it all. We're going to cover it all. And let's meet our panel first. Of course, you know I'm John Rocha, and over here on the far right, the man David Griffin.
I'm happy to be back talking about Star Trek. We didn't talk about it on TV Talk today, so it's nice to get a nice full in-depth review with all of these wonderful people.
That's right. And wonderful people. Speaking of wonderful people, next to David, the lovely Ashley Victoria Robinson.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here talking about Star Trek 12 hours after the last time I talked about Star Trek. It's going to be great.
And you know him as #1 on Team Trek, the man Jason Inman.
I am ready to make it so, because how awesome is it 2 weeks in a row on Collider talking about Star Trek?
That's right. And we would be remiss to not have a special Star Trek expert on this show. Our lovely, talented, incredibly funny, and knowledgeable Robert Meyer Burnett is joining us as a special guest to break down the show himself.
Well, you know, it's great to be here, and I can't believe they actually had a shout-out to the original series, third season episode, The Paradise Syndrome. We actually saw a preserver obelisk last night.
That is correct.
Boom. That's why he knows everything about Star Trek. He's the man. That's what I'm talking about. All right, well, let's get into this thing. Like I was saying at the beginning here, so much happened. It's essentially like a second reboot, this episode, because we were introduced to Michelle Yeoh. We had all this other ship. We had all this stuff going on with Doug Jones. All this stuff happened. And then what happens? Michael commits mutiny. Like when she put the Vulcan pinch on, I was like, what's going on here? And now we get to see this 6 months later. She's on a prison barge or ship and getting taken to, and it gets rerouted. So this is essentially a reboot. We get to meet the whole entire Discovery crew, led by Jason Isaacs, Anthony Rapp, so many people involved in this. This is an interesting, ballsy decision to make right in the beginning of your season. Jason, what did you think about this?
You know, I thought episode 3 of Discovery was, I thought, much better than episodes 1 and 2. And I'd love to hear the thoughts of the panel on this. I kind of think this almost should have been the pilot.
Oh.
And maybe add an extra half hour onto this where we flash back to the illusions of the battle and stuff like that. But I thought the idea of Discovery, the mystery of Discovery, was engaging enough that I was like, man, I wonder what it would have been like if we started the series here.
It's very reminiscent of the original series, where they had shot an original pilot with Captain Pike, and then
There's
used
3 original series pilots.
Right. But the one with Captain Pike that they referenced back and
Yeah.
was released. So that's a great point. Ashley, what did you think about this episode?
I agree with Jason. I thought this was a really tremendous episode. I would have loved the 90-minute where we sort of coalesce some of the fights, but you know, a lot of people were making the argument that the first 2 were like not Star Trek, and I think what people were looking for was that sense of wonder and exploration and adventure, and we get that here, even though we're mostly confined to the ship. This is a very classic, like, kind of bottle episode, and I think that that's what's really exciting, is seeing flashes of what we were looking for.
What about you, David? Now, we lost Takuvma, we lost Giorgio in the last episode, so we have to replace them, in essence, with a new villain, with a new captain. What did you think about this walking into Discovery?
It was great. I mean, Jason Isaacs is just, I think the first time I ever saw him was on The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
He was the villain, remember?
Yeah,
he was the villain. And ever since then, I've loved him, whether it's in Harry Potter or doing this now. It took me a while because I still don't feel like I'm in the world of Star Trek, but I'm finding that I don't care. So whether this is a new Star Trek for a new audience, for a new group of people to appreciate, or, you know, playing favoritism maybe with the old Star Trek fans, I don't know if I care anymore because I like what I'm seeing on screen. And that's what is important. If you're watching a TV show, as long as you're happy and enjoying what you're seeing, I think that's the most important thing. So I can leave my old Star Trek nerdisms aside sometimes. And I'm going to try to keep enjoying this for what it is, even though it really feels like The Expanse. Like part 2, and I love The Expanse. That's not a bad thing.
I think
it feels like
correct.
The Expanse.
It's definitely influenced by The Expanse.
Oh, this is a post-Battlestar Galactica sci-fi Star Trek series,
Yeah, but this was a harder edge. Like, these people are like, what I'm used to in the original series, what I'm used to in Next Generation is, oh, welcome aboard. Yes, nice to meet you. But this is #1. But with Michael, she's famous now as a mutineer. Everyone knows she's a mutineer. She gets called garbage. She gets like
she gets a better haircut, and that's what's really important.
Well, they make sure to tell you that she is Starfleet's first mutineer. That's like the first mutiny in all of Starfleet, which I kind of wish they would have told us a little. They would have made that point clear in episode 2.
I don't know how
but
you
yeah.
maybe could have. Like,
I
I
don't know.
understand why you leave it for this episode, but when you hear it, you're like, I wish I'd known that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what's interesting too is I don't know the motivation here because everyone seems really on edge, and this is just a science. This is a science ship, so I don't understand the angle. Like the
is it,
science
though?
officer,
Because they had
Is
the black
it?
badges.
Yeah, the black badges.
Which makes
Like,
you think
is
like
that
I
like-
think Black Ops.
Are you
Is
thinking
that
They're off
Section
the books.
31?
All right, no,
Right.
that's section
off
30.
the
Okay,
books.
so
Right.
so I would love to maybe Robert Meyer Burnett knows the answer to this. I have seen this on the internet. Haven't been able to confirm it. Apparently, the registry of the Discovery is 1031.
It is
different.
indeed.
Now,
Is that
Is that
different
correct?
timeline?
We
It
weren't
is
going to go to
indeed.
Robert this
Yeah.
early, but Robert, can you
different
confirm this theory?
I can't confirm the theory. By the way, I think I might have said this side of paradise instead of the Paradise Syndrome,
Oh,
which
right,
is where
right.
the obelisk appears.
You're fired.
But
Everyone's
You're fired.
screaming into their
It is
computers.
true that it is 1031. But I would think that, isn't that a little on the nose?
But
Yeah.
maybe this is what Section 31 was named for.
Could be.
Oh, yeah.
Could be.
Well, so let's make this clear for anybody that doesn't know. In Star Trek, there is a Black Ops organization that protects the Federation at no holds barred. They'll do anything. They'll murder people. They'll betray people. They'll create bioweapons, and it's called Section 31. And since we saw the black badges last night, and Discovery is 1031 as the
CBS,
registry.
please make those black badges and then send me one.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Christmas.
Look great. I love it.
Everybody now thinks that this is the reveal that this
Right.
is a Section 31 ship, which gives this show a very weird and different tone than the other
Right.
Star Trek shows. If this is true.
I want to. Speaking of theories, this one I'm sure Robert's gonna have something to say about this, but this feels like the origins of the Genesis Project,
Ooh.
possibly.
I could see
Because
that.
it's all about creating life. They have that whole
And
unit.
spores and
You with
blooming
Dr.
and growth.
Carol Marcus?
That's
You
Carol
talking about
Marcus.
that?
I mean, I know that's a
Okay.
little bit earlier than, but I mean,
Right.
it has that whole unit where they basically created this whole ecosystem. And
Right.
they're about like life creation, even though of course she wants to use it as a weapon. But I mean, wonder if this is like the origins of the Genesis Project.
And that's a great segue because Paul, we get introduced to Anthony Rapp, who is
Yeah.
him and his buddy kind of created this idea when they were back in school. The character's Paul Stamets. Anthony's. I'm not used to Anthony being a mean guy. I saw Anthony on stage in Rent in London. He's a very nice gentleman. I'm used to seeing him playing these nicer characters. He really can go to a mean place when he wants to, but still, Ashley still considers him her new boyfriend. So, Ashley, what did you think about Anthony Rapp here?
He's actually like my 16-year-old boyfriend because I saw him when he came back to Rent on Broadway, and I love him so much. This is a big divergent for
Yeah.
him, which I was a little nervous when he was originally cast because he does usually play like quiet, cute, little nebbish guys, and there is still that thread of nerd here. But his I saw this described on the internet as Mean Girls, you can't sit with me attitude. I am all about, and then the revelation that comes from the scene that's behind you right now.
yes.
Mr. Rocha,
Yes.
that he was drafted and that he doesn't want to be here and he feels like he's being oppressed and that his work is being corrupted. That's really powerful, and I think it's pretty obviously setting up Lorca as the new villain, the new Takuvma, if you will. And I'm interested to see what role he's going to have to play because he dominated every scene he was in a way that, like you said, we're not maybe used to seeing from him, but it was really cool.
He had like an 8-minute monologue in the middle of the
About
scene.
physics and
oh,
biology.
I thought he was great too because I loved how he's basically the Bones. He's
Yeah.
the Bones
Yeah.
type character of this
Yeah.
ship. Like that's exactly who he is. That's his
Yeah.
archetype.
That was a
But-
great scene too
Yeah.
in that ship when he was on doing his monologue. I don't know if you'll notice, but when he seemed like he was kind of getting on the captain a little bit. He obviously
Yeah.
didn't agree
Yeah,
with
he
the captain's
did.
doing, and you could see the security guards look at each other and kind of tighten their guns a little bit, like they were ready to like take that guy
I thought
out
Landry
if he
was going to be
stepped
like,
it.
you better watch what you're
Right,
saying.
you better watch. And they kind of loosened up after he stopped.
Also,
talking,
his
but,
monologue
yeah.
is another little check mark that this is a Section 31 ship because Starfleet does not draft people.
Here we go.
Done, done.
I
Even
love
in
this
times of
idea.
war, we've
Yeah.
seen times of war before,
Yeah.
Right.
before the series.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing that I loved about this is like you watch the first 2 episodes, you're like, oh wow, this is going to be a Klingon versus the Federation war, and this is not like you can't just jump in the middle. Like you got to be following to get a lot of the stuff that's happening. And here we are, knee deep in the war. 6 months later, Sonequa Martin Green is doing what she's doing. She gets kind of yanked into the ship. So Jason's doing all of this on Lorca, rather, is doing all of this on purpose, and he doesn't even worry that she's a mutineer. He knows that he can twist her a little bit and try to use her because she is intelligent. And his first officer, Doug Jones, plays. By the way, Doug Jones is fantastic on this show.
Yes,
I
he's
absolutely
Yes.
love what he is doing.
Who
with
knew
that
blueberries would be that dynamic?
right? And I love every scene he's in. And so to put him on Discovery is brilliant on the ship so that you have this already kind of inherent conflict between them,
Yeah.
right? With the history in the past. Then you throw in the unstable element of Lorca. This now, all of a sudden, now I'm excited because there's all these storylines. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to go. And so, and right now, and then we have this monster on this ship, killing Klingons, and then the monster shows up at the end in the cage, in essence. And like, is Lorca controlling that?
Did you
monster?
also
What's that
did
all
you also
about?
spot the Gorn skeleton?
Right,
Ah,
that's
yes.
right
In-
behind
In Lorca's
Lorca.
evil secret lab, he has a Gorn skeleton. Now, here's the thing. I'm kind of with you. At this point now, there are a lot of mysteries
Yes.
on the Discovery. Like, you're like, okay, is it a Section 31 ship? Like, what is this? What is going on? Why does he have a Gorn? What the hell is this bug creature?
Right.
But also, too, there's this element of, I would love to hear the panel's thoughts on this. What do we think about this Spore-based warp drive thing that can instantaneously take you? They say at one point it can go 90 light years in 1.9 seconds.
Across the beta quadrant.
Yeah. So we obviously know from later Star Trek series that this doesn't work. That this warp drive must absolutely fail, because otherwise they would have it in Voyager 100 years later.
And then we wouldn't have Voyager because no one would be stuck in the Delta quadrant.
Yeah, they can get away from the Delta Quadrant in a second. So what do we think about this? I was intrigued by this Spore-based. When they first showed up, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then at the second when I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, we know this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So how interested in this am I?
It felt like a combo of the holodeck and warp drive, like at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, because when he was showing her all the different environments that she could be in, was she actually going to those planets? Was she actually seeing what she was seeing, or is it more a matter of like it's so lifelike and so real that you believe you're there, so therefore you can like make whatever theories up or make whatever battle plans you need to get to figure out how to work the planet? What did you think, Dave?
I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling that it's a weapon. It's got to be some. You talk about, remember, biology and physics, like on the same plane, on the same line there. So I mean, we see that creation, that monster that was created. Kind of remind me of like Dead Space or Resident Evil, some like weird monster creation. So that's the goal for him, I think. Whatever that creature is to use against his enemies or something like that. So I have a feeling this whole traveling across the galaxy super quick is just a front.
Right.
I bet it's just a front, or it's just going to fail and ships are going to blow up, or is that weird mutation's going to happen? Maybe they can never master it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Did
that's
it
the
seem
thing.
logical to you, Ashley?
There's very little about the show that seems logical, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Wow! Is that because we have a female? Is that because we have a human Vulcan?
No, I actually love that idea because that's who I would love to be if I lived in the Star Trek universe. But she's a wildly illogical character.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of the spores as a science fiction concept is really cool. I love it. But that combined with the fact that we see a Tribble and we see a Gorn, which we know we were supposed to see for the first time in TOS, push up my glasses. These are the things that are making me think that we said this is a prime timeline, but something happened and we're diverging into a new continuity now.
Right. Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yes.
Talk to me about the Spore situation. We were talking off camera. You got a lot to say about this.
Well-
what was your feeling about this?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of clues that were dropped in that scene, especially not just seeing the Preserver obelisk, but it looks like we saw a little Janus 6 in there from Devil in the Dark. It was very similar to the Iconian Gateway scene from a second season
That's what it
episode
really reminded me of too, yeah.
Absolutely, of Next Generation. There's a lot of the episode The Pegasus, where they were dealing with the cloaking device. There's a lot of cloak and dagger weirdness happening where Starfleet's doing things they're not supposed to do. But there's clearly a long game being played in this show where they're stretching out things, they're creating these mysteries. And I'm convinced that what we're seeing is not exactly what's going on.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of things they're playing with, because we shouldn't know who the Gorn is now. I mean, if they know who the Gorn is, then we wouldn't have invaded their space, and the whole episode arena with the attack on Cestus 3 would never have happened. So Lorca has a lot of things. Why does he have a Tribble in his ready room?
It's a
Where
huge
does that-
Tribble, too. It's not
There's a
even a
huge
little one.
Tribble,
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of stuff going on. He's got a sort of
steroid
alien resurrection menagerie. I think there's a storyline that has yet to reveal itself that I'm interested in seeing, actually. I love Jason Isaacs.
Yeah. Do you in the lexicon of captains right now? This introduction. How do you feel about Lorca? Is he like Star Trek 6? Is he going to go and like try to stop Kirk from bringing together the Klingons? Is he that kind of captain? Like, what kind of captain do you think he is?
I think he's from Chain of Command. He's a little bit of Ronnie Cox's character from that Next Generation episode. He could be crazy like Ron Tracy from the Omega Glory, or he's actually somebody we haven't seen before, a true Black Ops captain who is going to do whatever means necessary, take on the Klingons outside of the purview of Starfleet and Federation oversight.
Yeah, and Lorca seems to have this kind of like the hinted at. It seems like just hinted kind of romantic relationship with Landry, or maybe like she's like serves him in a way like she was like,
Oh,
anything you want, Captain. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on
They're
here?
not convinced.
They're not convinced.
Because he sent her away quick when she was betraying like their situation.
And his family was in the fortune cookie business?
Yeah,
100 years ago.
100 years ago. 100 years ago. Right, yeah,
Don't pick up a bunch of cookies that are unwrapped
It's like,
sitting
here you
on
go.
the desk.
Like, oh,
That's
yeah,
gross.
how long have those been there?
I actually thought that he was more of a piece with characters like Reed from Enterprise or Bashir from DS9, who we've seen do Black Ops stuff before, but who. They inherently have good in their hearts. I don't know if I believe that Lorca has anyone's best interest.
Lorca actually just really reminds me of the classic TOS trope of the evil captain. That happens a lot in TOS. Even Star Trek Beyond did it.
Yeah.
The evil admirals.
Yeah, the evil admiral, the evil captain. Interestingly enough, I was texting.
So do you think we'll see Sonoko Martin Green with a goatee and stuff? Do you think we'll see her
Well,
as the evil?
It's funny you bring.
I hope so.
It's funny you bring up. I was just about to bring up a theory. I was texting with a friend of mine who I call Captain and sometimes team up with.
Hello.
And he has a.
I love you.
Yeah. I'm not naming names, but he has a theory that, and I'm very intrigued by this. I'd love to hear the panel and even Robert's theory in this. He thinks that we might get the reveal that this is the mirror universe.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah.
That we might get to the end of the season and boom, we're in the mirror universe. That would
be awesome.
And then if you think about that, if that is the case, then
The color palette
all
makes a lot more
continuity
sense.
problems are out the window.
Right.
You can just be like mirror universe.
Yeah.
And that would explain as well why they're all kind of evil.
Yes.
So it's like a big Elseworld story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I would dig. Do you like one last thing? And we'll move to Robert real quick. Do you like how her character is coming along? How Michael's character is coming along through the last 3 episodes? Because obviously we had her like commit mutiny. We had her go to extreme measures because of her past, because of her history with the Klingons, which we see the stuff with Sarek. Like we see their connection as well, you know. And so, do you like where the character is at, David? Watching this,
Well, I think she needs who knows what her motivations are, but her roommate. I think that character needs to be there. She's on the verge of being maybe a little too over the top. But the thing is, everybody's so Tilly's her name.
Yep.
Everybody's so serious
Cadet
and
Tilly.
dark and just heavy. So there needs to be somebody to kind of push back on that and be super goofy and just charming. And maybe she's villainous. We don't know what she's got going on, but I feel
She's
like,
the one in charge.
Yeah,
That's what's
she's probably the
gonna
one in charge. But I like that she's pushing back. So it's causing Sonequa Martin Green's character to respond differently.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm getting to know her a little bit better through her new roommate.
right. And
but-
initially, her room. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. David.
yeah, outside of that, because she's so guarded
Yeah.
that it's hard to really get get emotionally attached to her. But with her roommate, that helps out with Tilly. That helps out a lot.
And initially, her roommate is like oversharing, and then we get this weird moment where she turns and she looks kind of evil when she's sleeping in bed or laying in bed, and then later she won't let her stand next. Like we get assigned seats,
Yeah.
which also
I think
which
it's more
proves to
that
be
that's
false.
her fear. I think that's
Is it-
Tilly's fear
is
is
that
what I would say.
But her
Yeah.
saying I'm going to be captain in the future, what does that mean? Like, what does that lead to?
It
What
means that
captain is
much
she
like
going to be?
Commander Riker, she's going to say that and then never leave the ship.
No.
Don't you badmouth Riker.
Yeah, poor Riker. Yeah, he never got, even Sulu got a ship.
Yeah, even Sulu got a
Eventually.
ship.
Sulu got a ship.
He gets one eventually.
Yeah,
you don't get too far.
20 years down
you don't
the
get too
road.
far stepping over chairs instead of sitting into chairs. You know, that's kind of a weird little thing about this. I did love this idea that Burnham she references Spock, right? She refers
Yes.
to Spock. Says it hands her roommate a copy of Alice in Wonderland. Says my foster mother on Vulcan used to read it to me and her son.
Is that her name, Amanda?
That's Spock.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's Amanda. Okay.
Now, there's 2 things in there. That's
Yeah,
very
Amanda
interesting.
is the mother's
Excuse
name.
me.
There's 2 things that's very interesting in there. One is that she says both her human children.
Yes.
She names
That's
Spock as a human.
Spock
Two
is half
humans.
human.
Yeah.
Also, the Alice in Wonderland thing, and Robert Meyer Burnett, I expect you to know the name of this. It is a reference to a animated series episode.
Yes, the episode Yesteryear. The animated episode Yesteryear.
You're my
where
favorite human
Spock
being on the
says-
earth right now,
Spock
Robert.
actually says that his mother was fond of reading the stories of Lewis Carroll.
Yeah.
Look at that, boom.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to Robert Meyer Burnett for an uninterrupted take on this episode.
Hot take.
Hot take
Well-
from the man captain, Robert Meyer Burnett.
I think Jason, what Jason said about this, you're his friend. Knowing something about the development of this show, the Mirror Universe played a huge part of the development of the show, how it was originally written by certain writers. And I think what your friend's saying, I don't know if that's true or not, but I know the Mirror Universe plays into this first season somehow. I don't know exactly how yet, but whether we're in the Mirror Universe or going to go into the Mirror Universe, I think the Mirror Universe is going to be a pivotal element of this program. But what I do like about this show is it's showing us a Star Trek that we've never seen before. And for this old school fan, it's not exactly the most palatable thing. But then again, you know, I didn't like salmon when I was a little kid. I love salmon now. And I think your tastes change. And obviously the production of the show is first rate. I do love the cast. I hate the way the characters are currently written, but I love the cast. But I think it might be intentional the way the characters are being written.
Dun,
now.
dun, dun.
But I'm very intrigued by where this is going. I subscribe to CBS All Access. I don't like that it doesn't have multi-channel sound. I don't like the fact that the streaming is not the best in terms of quality. But I'm watching Star Trek. I'm paying my money, and I am thoroughly enjoying myself every Sunday night now.
Boom.
So,
Robert Meyer, thank you so much for saying that. It's
Yeah.
really powerful stuff what you're talking about. We're all signed up for CBS All Access. We all get to watch. Jason,
I'm
help me.
paying the premium.
You are. That's right.
You are? Oh,
I'm
no,
paying the
I didn't go
commercial
that
free. I'm paying that
No.
$9.99 a month.
It's like, don't disturb.
You were like, I don't
My
want those
watching.
commercials.
I want the
They're-
awkward cut to black.
They
Wait. There it is. Okay.
They are loud commercials, I will say.
I know. Yeah.
A lot of Home Depot. Listen. Let's go around the table. Let's go around the table and see what you guys think might be happening next. What do you think might happen next episode?
When is the?
That's a big question,
when
John.
Is
Yeah.
When is a replicator invented? Because that food in the cafeteria didn't look very good.
Somewhere
No.
between TOS and TNG.
Okay. Yeah, that food didn't look great.
Yeah, because they have food
it have- Wait,
no.
synthesizers in
Synthesizers,
TOS.
that's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which you have to put, you
Because
have
in-
to stock them with.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
Enterprise there was a chef.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Frakes.
And if this is the mirror universe, does this mean she's evil in the other universe, in the in the Kelvin timeline, or the
Maybe
whatever
this
timeline they're
is the
playing with?
evil Burnham.
Could be. This could be right.
I actually think if that's the case, we're gonna
Yeah.
do actually a joke that Jason and I did in Richard Diaries. So go watch that. Where she's gonna
Love
be
that
the
name,
good
Richard.
one and everyone else is gonna be the evil one.
Can you imagine
Right.
the
That's
finale?
what it feels
Can
like
you
to me.
imagine the finale of the show is she's like, meet my brother Spock, and he walks through the doors and he has the goatee. You're gonna be like,
Yes. Well, and here's the deal for me. And it occurred to me this whole idea of the mirror universe, like what you mentioned. Now
Yeah.
it occurs to me connected to this because I kept thinking that right in the second episode, I think when the ship's being attacked and everything's blowing up, and she the guy gets knocked out, like he was telling her, "I'm supposed to be in sick bay. I don't know what I'm doing here."
Oh,
And then he gets
Connor.
jettisoned.
Oh, yeah.
He gets
Yeah.
jettisoned. The next shot of her is like knocked out on the ground.
Yeah.
This is what I'm worried. Like, is the imagination in her mind, or a mirror universe?
Yeah.
So we've jumped into the mirror universe, and she's in it now without knowing that she's in it.
Interesting.
And that's
Very
what I'm
interesting.
wondering about. So there's a lot to play with here that I'm excited about personally.
I
So,
have a theory about Lorca that I've talked about based on just this episode. There's the first scene where you see him and he says that his eyes were injured.
Yes.
And he has to wait for the lights to come up really slowly. That's something that can happen when your irises don't open and close at a normal rate. And what causes that is extreme exposure to light that is too bright. And where was the last time we saw really bright light was when the Klingons lit their beacon. So I think we're going to get the revelation that Lorca was there and somehow involved in what happened at the Battle of the Binary Stars.
yeah, they could be working together.
well, to be honest with you, we could eventually get this revelation that Lorca and the ship wanted the war.
Yeah.
Started the war,
Yes.
helped start the war, which explains
Yeah.
why he was there. Because it is, again, we still have this mystery of how the hell did the Klingons have this cloaking technology?
Right.
All right. And now we're learning that the Federation has this weird technology that can jump you distances immediately.
Yep.
Now, these are both technologies that we know they don't have later on.
Yeah.
So to me, is there a weird shadowy group? Is there an ongoing theme? And I think that's what this entire season of Star Trek is going to be, is that Lorca is going to do all these things and I think he's exactly like Peter Weller in Star Trek in the Darkness, that he is trying to militarize Starfleet. He wants a military Starfleet.
Yeah, and you see the blue. That's Weller was wearing that in Darkness, so he's got that uniform. So there's something to play with here. For me, I think a lot of things are going to hinge on Saru. I think we're going to get more background on Saru. That's going to come into play. Definitely Lorca and definitely Michael, but I think Saru is going to have a really significant part to play here. You don't bring him back and not have him have some integral part to play in letting us. Robert, any final thoughts about where you think this is going to go next?
Well, I look again. Watch out for the mirror universe. I think it's going to be a big part of it all. I'm just excited to see Star Trek the way we've never seen it before. And I think, look, as an old school canonista, and I am a canon pornographer, once you put that aside, I think there's a lot to enjoy watching this show, because we're seeing Star Trek writ large the way it hasn't been seen except on the big screen, but we're seeing it on a week-by-week basis. And as I've always said, we live in wondrous times, and to get Star Trek that looks and is produced the way this show is is pretty special.
Yeah, there we go. That's a great last take. All right, let's go around the table, see where everybody can find you, David.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at GriffinDE, and be sure to check out Collider Video for all the New York Comic Con coverage, because even though TV Dark is going to go dark for the rest of the week, we will be covering lots of television at New York Comic Con.
Absolutely. And Ashley.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley V. Robinson. And if you go to your local comic book store the first Wednesday in November, Jason and I have a story in the If Anthology. And then the first Wednesday in December, our creator-owned series Jupiter Jet comes out. So please go pick it up.
My man, Jason Inman.
You can find me all around the internet at Jawin, Jawiin, and I also will be at New York Comic Con with Jupiter Jet #1. So come on by at the Action Lab booth.
Absolutely. And the great and beautiful Robert Meyer Burnett.
You can find me on Collider Heroes every day.
Yes.
Or you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RM Burnett, or find me on Facebook at Robert Meyer Burnett.
Don't be a Russian bot, for God's sakes. And you'll find me and Jason Inman going at it on the Schmodown soon enough. 1 versus 16. Taking you out, son. And taking you out.
We'll see.
Gonna knock you out of the ship. There we go. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You guys can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And like David said, please follow us for all the New York Comic Con TV talk we'll be doing there. It's going to be a blast. The show itself won't be on, but we will be doing a lot of coverage on these TV-centric panels at New York Comic Con. Thanks for watching the Star Trek Discovery Review. We will see you next time.
Hey everybody, Josh McCouga here. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Collider TV Talk. Want to watch more episodes? Click there. It's an interactive link. Or for more Collider content, click down there. Subscribe to the channel. Tell all your friends. Get an airplane. Drive it by that says Collider. I'm not telling you to buy an airplane. Just do whatever you want as long as you're watching Collider video.